There's something about hospitals at 3 in the morning that people don't understand. It's not that they get busier, they get quieter. And in that quiet, things feel different. I've worked enough night shifts at St. Mary's Medical Center to know the difference between normal chaos and something that shouldn't be happening. October 14th started like any other shift, machines humming, fluorescent lights buzzing softly, nurses moving slowly between rooms. But at exactly 3:07 a.m., the first ambulance rolled in. Male patient, early 30s, severe head trauma. No identification. The intake form listed his name as Daniel Hayes. We moved him into trauma room 2 and started working. His pulse was weak but steady, nothing we couldn't handle. I remember thinking it was just another long night. 2 minutes later, another ambulance arrived. Another male. Same age, same build, different injuries, different blood pattern. But when the nurse handed me the file, I felt something tighten in my chest. The name read, Daniel Hayes. I looked up at her, expecting a correction. There wasn't one. Before I could even question it, at 3:16 a.m., a third ambulance pulled in. And by that point, I already knew what I was going to see on that intake sheet. Daniel Hayes. 3 men, same name, same birth date, no ID on any of them. Found in different parts of the city. That's when the air in the ER shifted. Not loud, not dramatic, just wrong. We placed them in separate rooms, 2, 4, and 6. I started in room 2. He was critical, skull fracture, internal bleeding, fading fast. We worked quickly, stabilized him as best we could, and I stepped into the hallway to clear my head. That's when a nurse grabbed my arm and whispered that the patient in room 4 was awake. That didn't make sense. The injuries should have kept him unconscious for hours. But when I walked in, there he was, sitting upright, staring at the blank wall like he was waiting for something. His vitals were perfect. Too perfect. He turned his head slowly and looked at me. Not confused. Not scared. Just calm. He smiled and said, 2 more. I asked him what he meant. He replied, there are 2 more of me. I thought maybe he was delirious. Head trauma can do that. But then he said something I still hear in my head. He said, I can't remember which one I am. Before I could respond, the monitors in room 2 screamed. Flatlined. We rushed back. The first Daniel Hayes was dead, no warning. No slow decline, just gone. And when I returned to room 4, the bed was empty. No footprints. No alarm triggered. Security cameras showed nothing. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. We still had the third patient in room 6. When I went in, he was awake too. But this one was terrified, shaking, whispering that they were merging. I asked, who? He looked at me like I was the one who didn't understand and said, you think we're 3 people. We're not. I felt cold even under the hospital lights. At 3:31 a.m., every light flickered at the same time. Not a blackout, more like a glitch. Monitors buzzed. Phones reset. For 7 seconds, everything looked distorted. When the power stabilized, room 6 was empty. The body from room 2, gone from the morgue drawer. Security footage from that exact minute was nothing but static. Not black, static, like interference. Police investigated. Administration blamed a system error. But the part that makes this impossible to explain is this. There were 3 real Daniel Hayes in the city that night. All alive, all accounted for. None of them had been near the hospital. 2 days later, I received an email from an unknown sender. Attached was a clean version of the security footage, not static, clear. At 3:30 a.m., all 3 rooms opened at once. The 3 Daniels stepped into the hallway together. They looked at each other like mirrors recognizing their own reflection. Slowly, they walked toward each other, and when their hands touched, the image warped like heat rising from pavement. When it cleared, only one man remained. He stood alone in the hallway. Then he looked directly at the camera and smiled. The hospital never acknowledged that footage. They called it fabricated. The case was closed. But last night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., another ambulance arrived. Female. Severe head trauma, no ID. The intake form listed the name Emily Carter. That's my daughter's name. She was asleep at home. I checked. But when I walked into the trauma room, the woman opened her eyes immediately and looked straight at me. No confusion. No fear. Just certainty. She smiled and said, "You're next. Now tell me, if 3 people with the same name ever walk into your hospital in the middle of the night, would you try to save them? Or would you wonder if you're not treating patients at all, but pieces of something trying to become whole?" Hospitals don't get busier at 3 in the morning. They get stranger.